Knowing the deeper story is extremely important when the story we're being told is very shallow. Hello and welcome to Season 2, Episode 12 of the Off Ramp Project. I'm Carla McLaren, and I want to talk today about the deep story underneath the story that we've been fed about the divisions in the United States. And pretty much any place where there's a division between conservative values and liberal values. This deep story comes from the work of one of my favorite sociologists. She's the sociologist of emotion, Arlie Russell Hochschild. If you've heard of the terms emotional labor or emotion work, that's the work of Arlie Hochschild in her deservedly famous book, The Managed Heart. In it, she talks about the commercialization of human feeling and how a lot of the work that we do in the workplace is emotional labor and emotion work that we do in the rest of our lives. It is generally unnoticed, unpaid, and unsupported work. And it most often falls onto people in the lower parts of those hierarchies of human worth that I talk about. So if a hierarchy of human worth has whiteness at the top, the people doing a lot of emotional labor and empathic labor and emotion work are going to be the people of color. In a patriarchy, which is a hierarchy of human worth with men on top and women on the bottom, women are going to be doing a tremendous amount of emotional labor and emotion work. It's what you do at the bottom of hierarchies of human worth in order to keep yourself safe and to know everything that's going on as a way to keep yourself safe, right? So emotional labor and emotion work are huge and sort of you can't survive without it. Everybody knows when it's not being done, but they don't really have the language for it. So reading Arlie Russell Hochschild's work is so important. If you're doing any kind of work in the workplace or at home, if you want to understand emotions, The Managed Heart is your book. Go get it. She's a beautiful writer too. So it's not, this slog through academic work. In, I think, 2010 through 2012, Arlie Hochschild, who is a liberal and lives and teaches in Berkeley, California, was seeing this huge split that was happening around the Tea Party, around Obama's rise, and the feeling that people had that, there's something wrong with this guy. Was he born here? Is he a Muslim? What is going on? It just didn't make sense. And that questioning led to what we see today as a massive, dangerous schism between the left and the right, where we don't even speak the same language, where we don't have the same references, we don't get the same news, right? Our facts are entirely different facts, and it's as if we're not even neighbors or members of the same country or even the same species. I mean, we have been divided. And of course, that only benefits people in power. It never benefits us, just regular people, never. It's always for people in power to be able to pick us off. Like ducks in a row, pick them off, have them dance, pony dance for my pleasure and my money. So Arlie doesn't think in this way. This is me thinking, but she thought this is bad, and I really need to understand this. So I, as a liberal, educated Berkeley professor of sociology, I want to know who's exactly opposite from me. And she landed on conservatives in the bayou of Louisiana. And so she went there. I don't know how she found people there, probably through her collegiate connections, her academic connections. And she spent 5 years studying people as what's called in sociology a participant observer, meaning she goes there and she lives there and she hangs out there and she eats there and she becomes one of the people, always telling them, I'm an observer and I'm me and I'm a liberal and I'm studying this and, never faking it, but really inserting herself into the life of that world. And what she was looking for is what she calls the deeper story, or the deep story that people hold, that is kind of a mythology. It's truer than true because it feels true. It feels as if this is true. And she was able to create a deep story from listening to all these people with all of her sociological, emotional labor, emotion work skills, and tell the story in the way that people that she met in the Louisiana Bayou, who were on their way to being Trump supporters. Remember, this started in 2012. Who were probably in the Tea Party, which was a party that split off during the Obama years as a way to say, hey, we are not agreeing with what's going on here in this liberal world. This is not okay with us. So she was able to tell the story that she heard from them, and it's a much longer story than what I'm going to read. And the people that she had studied, that she had lived with, that she had worked with, that she had interviewed and talked with and gone to dinner with, and she lived there. She told them this story and they said yes, right? So she did her due diligence as a social scientist. And in the Wright's deep story, I'm reading from her book, Stolen Pride. Now, in the book that she wrote for when she was in the Bayou, it's called Strangers in Their Own Land, Anger and Mourning on the American Right. So she was looking at the political divide back then. After Trump's first presidency, she went back to look again, and this one is called Stolen Pride, Loss, Shame, and the Rise of the Right. In this one, she writes, in the Wright's deep story, the principal figure is a man patiently waiting in line, facing toward the American dream set atop a high hill. His feet are tired. He feels his turn should be coming up, but the line isn't moving. He's quite far ahead in line, but seldom looks back to notice how very many people, especially people of color, wait in line behind him. Then the man spots some people stepping in line ahead of him, line cutters. Who are they? They are educated women and Blacks, propelled, it seems to him, by affirmative action. It's also immigrants, refugees, and well-paid public servants. The man sees a Democratic president waving to the line cutters. Is he encouraging them to bypass me? He wonders. In another moment of the Wright's deep story, someone ahead of him in line whirls around to criticize the man who's patiently waiting, and they say, you ignorant, racist, sexist, homophobic redneck. That's what the critic says. For the man in line, this is the last straw. So the deep story is deeper than that and longer than that, but this is like an encapsulation of it. And the people felt heard. And in feeling heard, they could make a relationship with her and see her as a person and not an enemy. But what I've noticed in reading this book is that we on the left love to call people names. We love it so much. We love our racist, fascist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic. We love to pull those names out. We like to label things. And I'm sure people on the right do too, right? But it's like one of our love languages here on the left, and it's really annoying. It's annoying for everyone, but it's just something we're kind of addicted to. And so when it happens today, when people on the right say, hey, this is what I'm feeling and this is what I see in this, the first thing that's going to come out of many leftist mouths are, well, that's racist. No, that's fascist. No, that's sexist, right? There won't be any kind of access to the deep story of where that person's awareness comes from. Now, one of the reasons I talk about braver angels so much is that they found ways. Number one, they are nationwide. You can find a braver angels pretty much anywhere, or you can go on a Zoom. So it's accessible to everyone, and I think that's really important. There are other groups that are around, but none that are as widespread as Braver Angels. But what Braver Angels is trying to do, whether they have read strangers in their own land or stolen pride. They're trying to help people become people again, people together, listening to the stories that are deep and the stories that are true and the reasons that people feel what they do and vote how they do, right? Instead of, well, you're just on the other side, which means you're a monster, the end. Hierarchy of human worth, me and the people who agree with me on the top and everybody else on the bottom. It's just so simple, right? So Arlie Hochschild, dove into this twice now to try to help people understand the deeper story. She also wrote about a deeper story of the left. And though she didn't do a 5-year study, she's lived on the left, but she's lived in a very specific area of the left. So it doesn't encapsulate kind of the whole piece of it, but it's close enough. And so I grabbed this in a letter that she would have written to her friends in the Bayou to say, hey, I know liberal people, and this is what I think they're thinking, and I think you could share your deep story with them, and this is their deep story. So I'm going to read it off the screen. As you get to know them, you'll find progressives have their own deep story, one parallel to yours, one they feel you may misunderstand. In it, people stand around a large public square, inside which are creative science museums for kids, public art and theater programs, libraries, schools, a state-of-the-art public infrastructure available for use by everyone. They are fiercely proud of it. Incorporation and acceptance of difference feel like American values represented in the Statue of Liberty. But in the liberal deep story, an alarming event occurs. Marauders invade the public square and recklessly dismantle it, and selfishly steal away bricks and concrete chunks from the public buildings at its center. Seeing insult added to injury, those guarding the public square watch helplessly as those who've dismantled it construct private mansions with the same bricks and pieces of concrete, privatizing the public realm. So you see these two deep stories where people are holding on to an American dream that is a different dream and who are seeing trouble. Everybody's seeing the trouble, but from their deep story, they see the trouble in different ways. And everyone's feeling cheated. And as if there's unfairness and inequality happening all around them. And in each case, the president who seemed to be waving at the line cutters in the conservative deep story was Obama. And in the deep story of the liberals, the people who are stealing the public good and turning it into McMansions, that would be Trump and other Republican presidents. Yes. So the rage that the right felt toward Obama, waving at what they saw as line cutters, and the rage that the left feels toward Trump, who seems to be just taking everything possible for himself and, pulling down buildings without any rules or agreements, and putting up buildings without any rules or agreements, just doing whatever he wants. That's the same rage, right? It's the same rage. And I think understanding the deeper story means understanding that the emotions are the same emotions. So if your friend on the right is having rage about something, that can be a place where you can connect if you've got the skills. And the hope with Braver Angels, because they're built on a foundation of family therapy where they create a situation in which the rage can be understood and spoken about in more connecting terms, rather than making two people screaming bloody murder at each other and not hearing a damn thing. Yeah. So understanding the deeper story, you'd have to be able to connect with people on a human level. And the way to do that is to find ways to come together with people who are nothing like you and to be in a space of wanting to learn and wanting to hear and wanting to be open and wanting to be, well, vulnerable, although I know that can make some people very frightened. Yeah. So understanding the deeper story means also everyone's got a reason for believing what they believe. Nobody believes things that are ridiculous to them. They've all got reasons for believing it, even if you stand on the outside and go, I do not even. There is no even that I do that can make me understand this. I think I told you in season 1 that I was in a cult when I was younger, and I was a New Age psychic healer. And the number of beliefs that I had that I look back now and I go, I have no idea what I was thinking. But these beliefs had such value to me when I was there, and they made sense. They made sense because some part of my deeper story was being spoken to by those beliefs, right? And here's the thing about the deeper story and politics. If a politician understands your deeper story, they have got you, right? They have got you. I don't know if you remember on the left when Obama came up and he was this wonderfully articulate, beautifully well-spoken, massively educated, wildly empathic person filled with hope. And we were like kids at Halloween. We loved that so much. And all the promises and everything that was going to happen. And we forgot that when presidents get in, they can't do everything they said they did. No politician can. He couldn't close Guantanamo. That wasn't even a realistic wish, but we wished it with all our hearts, right? And then we grew up and we went, okay, this is still politics, right? But the same with Trump. He spoke to the deep story of you're being scammed by the people who are cutting in line, by immigrants and women and all of these upstarts. And I'm the president who can make that work for you. And I'm going to lower gas prices and there will not be any new wars. And I think, it's been shown that Donald John Trump tends to tell stories that are not true. And there's lots of research that's counting how many he tells that aren't true. But he's just kind of an inflated example of political promise making that's never going to happen, right? But he came in on the deeper story and he spoke to the deeper story. And if you don't understand that deeper story, you're going to look at Trump followers like, these people are out of their minds. They're like people looking at me when I thought I had a pelvis alien from the island of Atlantis. I didn't say it out loud, okay? I didn't share it with everybody. But if anybody had known, they'd be like, Carla's out of her mind. Well, maybe I was. But it spoke to a deep story in me. And the reason it's so important to understand deep stories, other people's, most certainly, so that you can have some level of empathy and emotional awareness around them, and you can learn how to listen, right? But it's important to understand your own deep story so that you can see where you are vulnerable to political and social manipulation. Yeah. None of us it comes out in this world knowing everything, and none of us leaves this world knowing everything. We are all very, very susceptible to groupthink, to stories that are heart-tugging, to drama, to melodrama. We are social primates. We co-regulate each other's emotions. We think one of our American myths is that we do everything on our own. It's never existed in the history of the world. It never will exist, but it's America and I'm going to believe it, right? But we are such social creatures. And if we don't understand our own deep story, we are going to be susceptible to people who maybe understand it better than we do and know how to manipulate it. So understanding the deep story, definitely take a look at Strangers in Their Own Land. If you're on the liberal left and you cannot believe what you're seeing on the conservative right, learn to. The only people who get anything from the kind of polarization that we've been pushed into and continue to be pushed into every day if you look at social media. The only people who benefit are the people in power, and they've got enough power and they've got enough money. They don't need anything from me. They can go play golf, right? They can go on a yacht. Just get away from me. Leave my emotions alone. Leave my empathy alone. Leave my deep story alone. It belongs to me. And my deep story is not for sale. And my empathy is not for sale. And my emotions are not for sale. And my attention is not for sale. You go play. You go play. Okay. You've had enough here. Also, take a look at The Managed Heart by Arlie Russell Hochschild. It is an amazing, like, eye-opening look at the amount of emotional labor and emotion work that you do every day at work, no matter what kind of job you have, no matter what position you have. Emotional labor is what runs the workplace. It's what runs the family. It's what runs the world. And if you don't know you're doing it, you may burn out without any understanding of what got burnt, right? So take a look at this. And if you want to, my book, The Power of Emotions at Work, I talk about emotional labor and emotion work and my own conceptualization of something called empathy work, which is work in large group social structures. I sent it to Arlie Russell Hochschild. And I asked her, is this okay? Is this a furthering of your concept, or do you want to fix it? And she said, no, it's great. And then I died. I died the death of a person who was witnessed by one of their absolute heroes in this world. So I'm dead now. But then I came back to life. So Arlie Russell Hochschild, she is doing the deep work on the deep story. And we all have a deep story. And remember, no one believes things that are ridiculous to them. Everyone's got reasons for believing what they believe. And if you're just reacting and calling them names, you're going to push them further into their belief system because you're going to play into the narrative that they've been given, which is that the people who are opposite to them are monsters. They will never understand them. And all they do is call them names. Yeah. Let's not play that game. It's not a good game. As my dad used to say, when he was losing games with our family, he would say, this is a stupid kid's game. And I was like, hey, Dad, your stupid kids just won. And then he would laugh, right? But it's not a game anybody wants to play. And what was that? The end line in the movie War Games? The only winning move is not to play. Go check out Braver Angels. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.